All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling personal success, specifically how to set goals and actually achieve them.
Sounds like a plan.
We're going to be pulling some seriously good advice from Achieving Personal Success, that's by River Software,
Okay.
and also from Why Setting Goals is Important. That one's from Effectio. Now, one thing that kind of blew my mind right off the bat was from River Software. They compare building resilience to, get this, building a muscle.
Interesting. I can see that.
Yeah. So it takes work. It takes, pushing yourself. And sometimes it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, you don't just walk into a gym and expect to bench press 200 pounds, right? It
Sure.
takes time. It takes dedication.
Exactly. But hold on. Before we jump ahead to resilience, let's back up a sec. Why are goals even important in the first place?
Right. Good point.
Both of these articles, they really emphasize this. Like, it's more than just a to-do list.
It totally is. Goals, they're like a roadmap for your life. Without them, you're kind of wandering around aimlessly.
Right. And then you get frustrated. Effectio actually says unfulfilled goals lead straight to stress and can even, tank your self-confidence.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Think about it. You put in all this effort, but you
Mhm.
never see results.
Totally demoralizing.
Exactly. But then, the opposite. When you actually hit a goal, even a small one, it's like, boom, confidence boost. Ready for the next challenge.
I can relate to that. It's like when you finally nail that yoga pose you've been working on forever, you're like, I did it.
Right. And both sources, they both talk about this classic framework for setting goals that really work. The SMART method.
Oh, yeah. SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
Exactly.
Now, I know that acronym can sound kind of, I don't know, textbooky,
A
but
little bit, yeah.
River Software actually gives some awesome examples. Like, instead of just saying, I want to be healthier, which, let's be honest, we've all said that.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, make it SMART. I will exercise for 30 minutes 4 times a week for the next month. Suddenly, it's actionable.
Yeah, it's a plan, not just a wish. And SMART goals, they force you to, get really clear on what success means for you.
So true. But it's more than just checking boxes, right?
Oh, absolutely. The goals have to actually matter to you. They have to line up with, your values, what you really care about.
Speaking of caring, Effectio makes this point about involving employees in goal setting at work.
Okay, yeah.
Their argument is it boosts motivation,
Hmm.
makes people feel like they own the goal.
Which is super important, even with personal goals. If you don't really own it, it's going to be harder to stick with it.
Right. It's your journey.
Exactly.
And Effectio also reminds us to, celebrate those milestones along the way.
Yes. So important.
Acknowledge the progress.
Feedback is key.
It's like fuel, keeps you going.
It absolutely does.
Now, something that stood out to me from River Software was this idea of a holistic approach to goal setting.
Oh, yeah.
Not just work goals, but goals across all areas of your life.
Like health, relationships, finances.
Hobbies. And it's fascinating how those things, they all actually connect.
Right, they do. It's all intertwined.
If one area is weak, it kind of, impacts everything else.
Think of it like a web. Everything's connected. Your health is kind of like the foundation. If that's shaky, everything else is going to suffer.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So it's not just about being successful in one area. It's about finding that, balance.
Totally.
And to find balance, well, we've got to be ready for the challenges.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to resilience.
Right. Because, let's be real, no matter how well we plan, there will be obstacles.
And it's how we deal with them that really matters.
Makes all the difference.
Remember that muscle analogy? Building resilience, it takes work.
Oh, yeah. It definitely takes practice. And sometimes, even a little bit of discomfort. You got to push yourself.
And speaking of growth, adaptability is huge EE, according to both of these sources.
Yeah, the world's always changing.
Goals have got to change too, right?
Definitely. You got to be flexible. Things come up, got to adjust.
Think of it like sailing. You set your course, but you got to be ready to adjust your sails.
Exactly. The destination's still the same, but the journey might take some unexpected turns.
And that's where we're going to wrap up part 1 of our deep dive. But don't worry, we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more to uncover.
We'll be back with part 2, where we'll dive deeper into specific strategies for actually making those goals happen.
Strategies for success. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive. We're picking up right where we left off, talking about achieving personal success and actually, making it happen.
I'm ready for more. So last time we talked about the whole SMART goals thing, setting those goals that are specific, measurable, and all that. But now I want to know, like, how do we actually take those goals and turn them into, reality?
Well, River Software, they've got this really cool tool for that. It's called a Personal Development Plan, or PDP for short.
PDP. Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. What is that exactly?
It's basically like your personalized roadmap for growth. And it all starts with you. With self-assessment, you got to really take stock of where you're at right now, your skills, your strengths, the areas where you want to improve.
So it's like taking inventory, figuring out your starting point, and then like where you want to end up. Did you ever like do a self-assessment? Did you find it helpful?
Oh, absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, and lose sight of the big picture. But when you actually stop and reflect, it's amazing what you discover about yourself. Like, honestly, I uncovered this passion I didn't even realize I had. Totally changed my direction.
Wow, that's incredible. See, this is why I love these deep dives. You never know what you're going to learn.
Right. And once you have that clear understanding of yourself, then you can start setting those SMART goals. But they got to be aligned with your values, your aspirations. River Software, they talk a lot about intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like chasing external validation, never really satisfying.
Nope. It's got to come from within.
Yeah.
That passion, that drive.
If you don't really care about the goal, it's going to be tough to stick with it.
It'll feel empty even if you achieve it, like going on a trip and not knowing why you're even there. No purpose.
Okay, I'm getting it. So, PDP, SMART goals aligned with values. What else did you find in these articles that, really stood out?
Well, they both had some really good advice on staying motivated, keeping that fire going. Affectio, they really emphasized involving other people in your goal-setting journey.
Oh, interesting. So not just like keeping it all to yourself.
Right, because when you feel like you have, ownership, you're more likely to stick with it.
Makes sense. Like you're accountable not just to yourself, but to others too. Did they have any specific recommendations for how to like involve other people?
Yeah, they said, seek feedback. Celebrate those wins, Don't keep them to yourself. And create a culture of support. Encourage each other.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders pushing you to be your best.
Exactly. And it's not just about personal goals either. River Software goes into some strategies for achieving success in different areas of life, specific areas.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about that. What areas did they focus on?
Well, they broke it down into a few categories, like finding that balance between, your career goals and your personal life, achieving financial stability, and also cultivating those hobbies and interests, the things that light you up.
That's a pretty well-rounded approach. I think a lot of people struggle with that work-life balance thing.
Oh, yeah, it's a common struggle. And River Software, they really stress the importance of boundaries, like setting aside time for yourself, time for your personal life, and learning to say no to commitments that, don't really align with your goals.
Yeah, that no word can be tough.
Yeah.
But so important. Otherwise, you just end up like overcommitted and burnt out. Do they have any advice on the financial stability front?
They did. They were all about setting clear financial goals, like really define what success means to you financially speaking.
Yeah, you got to have a vision, right?
Exactly. And then they said, create a budget, track your spending, explore investment options. And they emphasize financial literacy, learning about money management.
Knowledge is power, for sure. The more you know, the less intimidating it feels. What about the hobbies and interests part? I feel like that's something that often gets like pushed aside.
I know, right? But River Software, they made a really strong case for making time for those things because, they contribute to our happiness, our overall well-being.
So it's not just about like goofing off. There's a real benefit to it.
Totally. It's about doing things that bring you joy, things that help you relax. And it's not about, being the best at it or impressing anyone. It's just for you.
I love that. Just pure enjoyment.
Yeah.
Did they suggest like actually scheduling time for those activities?
They did. Treat it like a meeting or an appointment, put it on your calendar.
Yeah, otherwise it's easy to let it slip through the cracks.
Exactly. But, it's important to remember, we're human, life happens.
Things don't always go according to plan, right?
Right. There will be obstacles, setbacks, moments where you're like, ugh, why me?
And that's where that whole resilience thing comes in, how we handle those tough moments.
Exactly. And River Software, they had some great insights on like how to cultivate a more resilient mindset.
Like what?
Well, they talk about having a positive outlook, believing that you can, get through the challenges, and reframing those negative thoughts. Instead of dwelling on the problem, focus on the solutions.
It's like shifting your perspective. Instead
Yeah,
of, why is this happening? It's, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I do about it?
exactly. And remember that muscle analogy. Resilience is something you build over time. It takes practice.
You got to work it out.
Exactly. And sometimes you need a little help. Both of these sources, they talked about the importance of support systems.
Yeah, those people in your corner.
Right. Mentors, friends, family. Sometimes you just need someone to listen or to offer advice.
Sometimes just knowing you're not alone makes all the difference.
Exactly. And it's not just people either. There are tools and resources out there that can help.
Like what kinds of tools?
Well, books, articles, apps that help you stay organized and productive, even professional services if you need them. It's about leveraging everything that's available to help you, navigate those challenges.
I'm really loving all this practical advice. It's not just vague, feel-good stuff. This is like actionable stuff we can actually implement.
Yeah.
So we've covered PDPs, SMART goals, the importance of values, finding balance, resilience, support systems.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's one more element that we can't leave out, and that's adaptability.
Oh yeah, we touched on that earlier. Being flexible, going with the flow.
Right. Because, plans change, circumstances change. You got to be able to adjust.
That sailing analogy, remember?
Yeah.
Got to be ready to adjust those sails.
Exactly. Destination's the same, but the journey, it might have some twists and turns along the way. And that's okay. So we're going to leave you with that thought for now, but don't worry, we'll be back with part 3.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of personal success and, really focusing on how to make those goals a reality.
It's been quite a journey so far. We've delved into SMART goals, resilience, the importance of a holistic approach. It's a lot to unpack.
It is. And before we sign off, I want to kind of revisit some of the key takeaways, the things that really stuck with me.
Sounds good to me. It's always helpful to distill those, nuggets of wisdom so we can actually apply them.
Exactly. One thing that really resonated was, remember that analogy from River Software about personal development being like building a muscle?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
It's a great reminder that growth, it doesn't just happen. It takes effort. It takes dedication. And yeah, sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable.
You got to push yourself. You got to challenge those limits just like you would in the gym.
Exactly. And I love that point from Fecchio about celebrating those milestones. It's so important to recognize the progress you're making.
Absolutely. Celebrate those wins, big or small. It keeps you motivated, keeps you going.
It's like that positive reinforcement, like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm making progress.
It's a great feeling. And speaking of feeling good, one thing that both sources talked about, but River Software really emphasized, was this idea of a holistic approach to goal setting.
Yeah, they were all about aligning your goals across, like, all areas of your life.
Right. Not just focusing on one thing like work, but thinking about your health, your relationships, your finances, even hobbies.
I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. They think it's all about, climbing the career ladder.
Right, but it's so much more than that. And when you neglect those other areas, it can actually, sabotage your success in the long run.
It's like that quote from River Software, remember? A healthy body and mind are the bedrock upon which we can build and realize our aspirations.
Such a great way to put it. It's about creating that solid foundation so you can build something amazing.
And speaking of building, we've talked a lot about setting goals.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember the journey's not always going to be easy.
Oh, yeah, there will be challenges along the way.
Yeah.
Obstacles, setbacks, moments of doubt.
And that's where resilience comes in.
You got to be able to bounce back.
Right? And River Software, they give some great advice on cultivating that resilient mindset. Having a positive outlook, viewing challenges as opportunities for growth.
And remembering that, you've got this. You can overcome those obstacles.
And remember, it's a process. Building resilience, it takes time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you need a little help.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to reach out. Lean on those support systems. Your mentors, friends, family, they can offer guidance, encouragement, or just a listening ear.
Sometimes just talking it out helps.
Right. And don't forget about all those amazing tools and resources out there. Books, podcasts, apps, even professional services.
It's about leveraging everything you can to help you navigate those challenges.
And ultimately achieve those goals.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything. We've explored the power of setting smart goals, the importance of aligning them with your values, the need for balance, resilience, support systems. It's been a fantastic deep dive.
It really has. And I hope our listeners feel, equipped and inspired to take action.
Me too. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a little challenge. Think about your values, your aspirations, what you really want out of life.
And ask yourself, what's one small goal you can commit to this week? Just one small step.
Write it down, tell someone about it, hold yourself accountable. Because it's those small steps, taken consistently, that lead to big transformations.
And remember, you have the power to create the life you want.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into personal success. Until next time, keep striving for that amazing life.